This is extremely dangerous. This is very dangerous. We're talking about Newcastle Casino. From there, it's going to cross the river at 164th Street South, and then it's going to go, if it doesn't lift, it's going to go into Moore. And right now, it is red line, center line for Moore.
10 years ago, I was scheduled for an induction with my second son, and I went in on Monday morning for that induction. When I got there, the doctor told me that she was going to check the weather and see if I was actually in active labor. The nurse checked me, found out I was actually having contractions, so they decided they were going to have to keep me. We get all set up for my induction, and me and the nurse kind of had a joke that the baby was going to be here by like 1:30, 2 o'clock. I get my epidural at some point, so now I'm stuck in the bed and can't move.
I believe that's a spot that you're showing on radar and talking about on radar that's actually spinning and churning. So
the weather starts to get bad. We're kind of watching it on TV, and we hear stuff about, you know, possible tornadoes and all that. But of course, like I said, hoping that the baby's here before. And then probably around maybe 2 or so, they come in and say that, you know, we're gonna have to take cover and my family's gonna have to go downstairs.
East down 19th Street, tracked right over the area where we was at. Was within probably a quarter to half mile from it before we had to turn around bail. Violent motion, a huge debris cloud wrapped around it.
Just knowing that I couldn't get up and couldn't go anywhere, and then being separated from my family. So there's really no communication between all of us and what's really going on. As they're taking cover, they decide they're gonna have to move me to the place where there's no windows, as close away from the outside of the building as they can, which ended up being the OR. And we're just kind of hunkering down in the OR. That's when the tornado hits the hospital. You start to see stuff kind of falling out of the ceiling, and you know, they're kind of covering me with like warm blankets out of the blanket warmer, and you know, we're all just kind of hunkered and just praying with each other. A lot of people say that you hear like, you know, silence or like a train or whatever when tornadoes come through, but it was more of a silent thing. Like you didn't really hear anything, you just saw everything kind of falling around you. Severe weather tornadoes, nothing like that was on my mind at all. It was go in, have a baby, go home, and that's the end of it. Taking the shelter didn't really bother me because it's Oklahoma. You know, you're used to taking shelter. We grew up learning how to take shelter. But once it actually began to hit and you know, you're sitting there with other people and you're just praying because you have no idea what's going on or what's going to happen in the midst of it. After the tornado hit, the hospital was very dark. And I remember them taking me from the OR to like, I think it was like a little, maybe a triage closet or something like that. There was a doctor that came in and checked on me and the baby, and then it was a matter of trying to figure out how to get me out, which that was a task in itself because I'm upstairs. All the hallways are dark. Even when they carried me down on the backboard, it was dark going down the stairs. You know, you're just kind of looking around, you can't really see much of anything. So the first light I actually saw was once we got outside of the hospital. It was muddy, there was, you know, there were trees and debris everywhere. There were cars and stuff kind of everywhere. So I knew that it was pretty bad. I didn't know how bad it was at the time. Once I got to Norman Regional, it was just kind of, you know, being in my room and kind of waiting it out, figuring out what we were gonna do next. I remember them coming in and asking me, you know, if I wanted to kind of start my labor back up and try to finish it out, or if I wanted to go ahead and do the cesarean section, and I just told him to just do the section. His name is Braden. He will be 10. He knows a lot about the day he was born, so we talk about it all the time. He's learned how to Google himself on the internet, and he's found himself and found videos, so he knows a lot about it, and he tells other people, of course, now. He has a couple nicknames because of the tornado, so he's called Twister and NATO. Now I am a nurse. I have been a nurse for 7 years. I started off at one hospital, and now I am a member of Norman Regional. I work in labor and delivery, which I absolutely love, and fun fact, I get to work alongside the doctor that delivered my son. She didn't realize who I was for a while because I never told her. And then one day she just walks up to me and she's like, "You're Shayla, aren't you?" And I was like, yeah. And so she starts showing me pictures that she had from the hospital and stuff. And so we just kind of shared our pictures, and, you know, I told her thank you.